Alrighty, hey everyone, welcome to the stream. How's everyone doing? Welcome, welcome, welcome. Hopefully people are still here.
Hey everyone, welcome. Shoot, sorry.
No, you're fine, you're fine. We have a Drittman today with us for another lesson. Actually, I'm going to add your name here. Drittman, aka Dylan, how's it going lately? How's your chess been doing?
Chess has been okay. I dropped a little in rating, but I've kind of been bouncing between 15 and 1600 for a while. It was kind of interesting. I was like at a 13 to 1400 plateau for a while at the beginning of quarantine, and then I got a chess coach for the first time. Then I gained 200 and started being in 1600, and then kind of plateaued around there again. So hopefully can break back through soon.
Yeah, and what kind of stuff have you been working on lately? Like doing any studying or
yeah, so
books?
I was part of David's 1400 to 1600 class, so that was really helpful in just hearing feedback about things I should work on, and then also just being able to connect to other people at about my rating level to analyze with, to play training games with. That's been really nice as well. So
Cool. Nice. Yeah, are you thinking about playing in person anytime soon?
Yeah, like if I had known that so many people from Dojo were going to Vegas, I would have considered it. But probably like just some local. So I live in the Bay Area, and they've started tournaments around here, but I'm just gonna might as well wait for the mask mandate to lift, and then that'll be like my first OTB. The fun story is that over a year ago, I had plans to play my first ever OTB tournament on something like March 18th, and 2 days before it was supposed to start, all the COVID restrictions went in place and it got canceled. So I missed my first ever OTB by just a couple days.
Man, brutal. Well, at least you'll be a lot better now than back then.
Let's hope.
Yeah. Okay. All right, cool. So, yeah, guys, so like the title says, we're going to be doing a deep calculation lesson today, but these problems are actually not going to be that hard. We are mainly just going to be working on visualization. And for a few of these problems, actually, I'm just going to give you the first move, and then I'll just ask you to try and calculate it out from there.
Yeah. Sounds good.
And yeah, I'm not sure, exactly where your limit is. We'll probably hit it at some point, but I'll try to gently push you past it. And let's start with a quick warm-up problem. And this, of course, everyone in chat and watching on YouTube is welcome to participate. Again, this is going to be more about kind of testing visualization rather than your ability, let's say, to find super good moves. Okay, oh good, you're already at the board. That's awesome. So this is going to be our first one. It looks like complicated pawn endgame, but actually, the way for white to play here is pretty straightforward, and this is just to get the brain going and to get us visualizing a bit. Actually, what I want to do is I'll just give you 2-3 minutes just to think about it on your own, and then I'm just curious what your first thought would be, and then we'll kind of calculate it out from there.
Okay. Do you want my first thought now, or should I calculate?
I want you to think on your own for a bit, yeah.
Okay.
And then you can let me know. And yeah, you guys in chat, I'm muted right now. Feel free to practice along. And again, if you're on YouTube, you want to pause the video and spend more time, I would highly, highly suggest that to work on your own
Okay, I have a first thought. And so, I can tell you that, or do you want me to calculate the full line first?
No, let's hear it.
Okay. So, the first instinct is obviously b4, but then f5. And so if you draw the box on f5 to b1, the problem with b4 is that the b4 pawn blocks the king's ability to... you can get in the box with b5, but then you kind of have to loop around the pawn and you feel like you're losing tempo. So I think the cleanest way, my instinct, is a4, because then on f5, you can probably play b4 and then kind of like, I mean, you have to also calculate what the black king is going to do. You can run inside the box, and the black king can never reach the a pawn just because of how far away it is. So like my first instinct is a4.
So you're saying a4, black goes f5, and then you wanted b4?
King b4.
Oh, king b4. You want to approach the pawn. Okay, so I'm actually really glad you mentioned this, because this is exactly what a lot of players try to do, is like they try to kind of shortcut it, if that makes sense, where it's like, yeah, if I can just stop the pawn, then my a pawn runs. And this is definitely a good thing to think about. But I want you to try and calculate out the most direct line. What do you think that would be, the most direct?
b4, f5, etc.
Yeah, both pawns just run forward immediately. So let's actually calculate out loud so I can follow your line.
Okay. b4,
yeah,
f5, b5, f4, b6, f3, b7, f2, b8 equals queen, f1 equal queen.
Okay, let's pause there. And I'll help you with a little bit of a technique that is kind of called the stepping stone technique. I don't know if you've heard this one. We sometimes mention it on stream.
Sorry. No, I haven't.
Okay, totally fine. So the stepping stone technique is basically when you're calculating deep. You know, this is already like 5-6 moves or something. And then both sides have just queen, right? So white's queen is on b8, black's queen is on f1, and trying to like kind of go further. It's really helpful to try and kind of like burn or fix that position in your mind so that you can like really see it clearly, and then you treat that position as if that's move 1 of like a new puzzle and you're considering different candidate moves.
Okay.
So do you have that? Do you feel like you're visualizing that position? Okay, so let's think for a moment here, and what would be the most direct move from there?
Queen b5 check.
Queen b5, very good. Okay, and let's calculate it out from there.
Queen b5 check, queen takes b5 check, king takes b5.
Mm-hmm.
So then the black king is going to step, let's for now just say g5, but in theory it can go to any of those 3 squares on the g file.
Okay, good.
a4, h5, a5, h4, a6, h3, a7, h2, a8, queen, and then you cover the queening square.
Mm-hmm.
So b4, it essentially feels like a forced win.
Okay, perfect. Exactly right. All right, let's play it out. And we'll just break this problem down a little bit. So this is a really good example of how, you know, sometimes just direct calculation is the way to go. And none of these moves are difficult to find as long as you see the position.
Yeah.
Right? This is the one moment, okay, you have to find queen b5. Otherwise, it's a very, very drawish queen endgame. But once you see this move is forcing the queens off the board, and then you see, like, well, basically the force line continues, and you can kind of keep going. So you did something very, very good here. I just want to point out, you recognized that black's move was not forced. And this is a good moment where to do exactly what you did. You choose one, but you kind of make a little footnote, like maybe I'll go back and see if it matters. Because in many cases it will matter. You know, the king might definitely doesn't want to step on a square where it gets checked later, you know, or gets skewered. And so it's very important to kind of keep those moments in mind, because later you might recheck your calculation and realize, yeah, you have to be super precise. In this case, it doesn't really matter. Let's say the king advances forward, and you know, some players already realize, like, when the pawns are racing, like the rook pawns, it's like the searching for Bobby Fischer trick. Basically, the first side that promotes always wins. But it is a good habit just to kind of calculate it out and make sure. Okay, so you accurately saw all the way up to here, and you correctly judged it's winning for white. After king g3, what would be the precise move? Queen h1, very good. And that's it. Black's king can't do anything. White's king just approaches and game over. Awesome. Yeah. So this was like a 12-move calculation. So, okay, if someone asks you how deep you can calculate, you can say at least 12 moves.
Yeah, I can push pawns as far as you want.
Right. So I like this example because it shows, like, when the line is direct and the moves are easy to find, you can actually calculate pretty deep. I mean, 12 moves is quite a bit.
Yeah.
But of course, it's only worth doing this when it's a very forcing continuation. If there are multiple options for both sides, then you're kind of wasting time going super deep, because odds are your opponent probably has many alternatives along the way. Okay, great start so far. Let's go to the next one here. Actually, that's going to be the longest problem we do today. The rest are going to be harder, but shorter. All right, let's jump to... Yeah, let's jump to this one. And I might have mentioned this already, but the solutions to these are going to be very forcing for the most part. I'm not going to ask you to find some kind of like double exclam move, on move 4 of the combination. So I want you to definitely get into a very direct and forcing mindset. So of course that means checks, captures, and etc. Okay, next one is invalid fen. Why would the fen be invalid? Let's try this. No. Try it again. No. This is kind of killing me. What's going on? One moment. No, everything's normal. Weird. Okay, we'll do a different way. Okay, here we go. White to play. Let me give you another, let's say 2 minutes just to come up with the first move, whatever move you think is most likely to be correct. Then you let me know once you're pretty sure you have the first move, and then I'll either confirm, because I don't want you to waste your time calculating something wrong. So I'll confirm you have the right first move, and then I'll have you calculate the line from there.
Sure. Material at piece. Focus hanging. Mate's threat. Mate one is threatened. Seems like a big deal.
And again, guys, if you're watching, you're following along, you can absolutely treat this as your own lesson. Try to come up with the first move and see if you can calculate the full line out.
I mean, okay, so right now I'm just calculating multiple variations after the first move of Queen E8.
Okay, good. Yeah, Queen E8 is the right move.
You muted Kostya.
Oh, sorry, I'm muted. One sec. Oops, sorry about that. Yeah, Queen E8 is right.
Okay.
So, what do you think is Black's, let's say, well, what's Black's first try there? What would you look at?
Rook F8.
Okay, so let's start with calculating that one. So White to play and win from there.
Okay. Queen E8, Rook F8, Bishop F7, King H7, King H7. That feels like the stepping stone.
Mm-hmm.
King H7 is knight. I feel like there's some combination of knight G5, Rook H1.
Mm-hmm.
Is it just that? Knight H5, Rook G... Okay, I think that's mate. Let me just double check it. Queen E8, Rook F8, Bishop F7, King H7, Queen G, Knight G5 takes his only move. Yes. Rook H1, mate. Okay.
Good. Yeah, that's absolutely correct.
So the other variation is Queen e8. So just to go quick, if they go Queen f8,
Mm-hmm.
I can just take the rook that's hanging.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm up material. So I'm just going to say, like, I'm at least better in that line. Maybe I have mate and more, maybe I don't, but, like, I have enough that I'm going to, like, look at it.
Just grab the
line.
rook. Yeah, you're up material, not getting mated. Absolutely right. So what's the last move to look at?
Queen e8, king h7 is the last critical move to look at.
Okay, good. So yeah, now I want you to try to work it out from there, how white wins.
Okay. Queen e8, king h7. So the two candidate moves there are bishop g6 and knight g5. Mm-hmm. So I'm just going to do bishop g6 first, because why not? Bishop g6. Rook takes is the only move. And now you don't have any of these knight g5 tricks because the rook is covering g5. So queen e8, king h7, knight g5 takes. Now the issue that I'm seeing is the bishop blocks the file. Okay, so queen e8, king h7, knight g5. Takes. If bishop g6, rook f6, if rook h1, rook h6, if rook takes h6, if rook take h, so I'm like pausing in that position, because if rook takes h6, if king were to take h6, we have the other rook to h1, king g5. No, there's a pawn on g5. So that's mate.
Good. Mm-hmm.
So the king can't take on g6. So if pawn takes on g6, on h6, if pawn takes h6, we have queen f7 mate.
Nice, nice. Very good, very good. Okay, let me put it on the board. So queen e8, king h7. Then you saw you have two candidates here. That's very important. Notice both moves are kind of interesting. You don't know which one works, so you just started with one. That's fine. You realized, oh, knight g5, rook takes. Yeah, it doesn't feel good, so you went back. Started with knight g5 to force black to take. Bishop g6, again, just most forcing move in the position. Mm-hmm. Rook h1. And yeah, a lot of players I actually think would give up here because they see rook h6 and like, oh, black is kind of defending. But no, you just, as long as you have forcing moves, you keep going. Mm-hmm. So takes. Yeah, then you saw this one, which is good. And gh6, queen f7. Perfect. Okay, and then just to review the other lines, yeah, there was rook f8 here. Actually, a couple ways to win, but this is absolutely immediate and game over. And lastly, if queen f8, then yeah, white's queen is defended, so you simply take this rook. We have extra exchange, and black's position is completely lost. All right, nice job. Let's go to the next one. And I'm gonna do, yeah, let's do this one. And the F-hands are killing me. All right. Okay, this is black to play.
Oh, okay, let me flip the board real quick.
Yeah, so 2 minutes. Give me your first instinct here. what you think black should be calculating, and then I'll have you calculate it all out.
Okay. Material is even points wise. Okay, this king side looks weak. My d4 is kind of possible, maybe a little slow. Man, the dark squares are really weak. Mm. Mm. Takes, queen. Back. Rook f3.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Okay, good. Now let's try to calculate it out.
Rook takes f3, rook takes f3, rook takes f3. If, so this is like stepping stone, if king takes f3, queen f6, and then either, so e2, king e2 is mate in 1, and king g2 is mate in something, because it's queen f2, king h1. I mean, I think you even have time for bishop g3 there, and mate on h2 is unstoppable. So other line is rook takes h3. And like, I guess the question is like, what if black just kind of ignores it? So like rook takes... Well, I guess you can't fully ignore it, because if you do something like queen e5, I mean, I just take twice on f1, the queen moves to the f file with check, and it's the same mate as before, essentially. Although, maybe it's slightly different, because if the queen moves off of c3, maybe it's an escape square. So it can't take e5 because the knight's covering it, but what if it were to just like move back to like a1? So,
let's come back a bit to let's jump to the main line again, because usually, you know, if you grab this big pawn and white's move is like queen a1, you know, it's like you're fine.
okay.
Yeah. So
I didn't know if you wanted like full mate on. Yeah.
No, no worries. Actually, I want to review the main line there. So you were saying rook f3.
F3, rook f3, rook f3, king f3, queen f6, king g2, queen f2, king h1. And then if bishop g3, I just got to make sure white... Oh, white has... Oh, that is a little too slow.
Yeah, what's white's defense there?
Like queen d2.
Queen
so
d2.
I need a different move than bishop.
That's right.
I also have queen h3 though. Queen h3, king g1.
Wait, hold on. We played queen f2 check, right? King went to h1.
Oh, sorry. Oh my god.
No, you're fine.
I need to slow down.
Yeah, that's all right.
Okay. Let me just have that position real quick.
Yeah, if you need to like reset, absolutely.
So if queen f3 check, if king g1, if then let's say like bishop f2, if king f1, then like discovered check and mate on whatever square. So like bishop e3, king e1, queen f2 is mate.
Mm-hmm.
So going back to that position with the king on h1,
Mm-hmm.
if queen f3 check, if king g2, bishop g3 is mate. No, bishop g3, sorry. Bishop g3, king g1, queen f2, king h1, queen h2.
Okay, good, good. Feel good about that one?
Yeah.
Okay,
I do.
Great. Yeah, absolutely. So, yeah, very nice. Rook takes f3. And yeah, such a destructive move. It's really hard to imagine white can do anything here. You have like rook g3,
Yeah.
rook f2, so many moves. But yeah, the direct line here is to take everything. Once again, we won the pawn, so principal line is for white to take. Now queen comes in on the f-file. You saw this one very quickly, and then king g2 here. And yeah, it's very easy to simply miss...
I think you have time here, but you don't, yeah.
This one, right? Because it actually is very close, because if rook d2, you would have queen f1.
Yeah, I saw that, but yeah, the queen move is...
Queen d2 is unfortunately, yeah, cold shower. But then we calculate queen f3, and this is a moment where I feel like whenever it's like, oh, the king has options, a lot of times we kind of panic and we feel like, oh, maybe it's like not so clear, because all of a sudden we have to calculate multiple line, you know, the variation starts branching out. But if you can hold the position in your head, you can calculate it out. You know, it's a matter of just kind of like just pushing yourself a little bit, having to revisit the calculation like you did if you need to. I think that's absolutely fine. That's one of the things I think Kotov really got wrong in his like a Grandmaster book. He basically said like you calculate the line once and then you just trust yourself. It's like no. Recalculate.
He calculates the line once and trusts himself.
Maybe he does, but yeah, I mean,
yeah,
maybe, but no.
At a certain level, maybe. Yeah, that's crazy.
For everyone else, trust me, recalculating is better. Just taking your time and just slowly working through the position. And yeah, you found all the right mates from here. And then, more importantly, if king g1, we have bishop f2. Okay, king h2. You have the other line. You have queen g3. That's easy. So king f1, and actually either
bishop e3. Yeah, either of the discovered check should work, but I said bishop e3.
Either is good. Yeah. So this one is yeah, totally actually the fastest way. Okay, very nice. 8-move mate. You played like Shigorin, a great Russian player. Actually, this famous combo of his. Very good. Let's go to the next one. If this is too difficult for some of you in the chat, I do apologize. I know it's tough stuff, but eventually the visualization is something we got to work on. Okay, let's go to this one. Okay, great. This is white to play. And yeah, why don't you take a minute or two here and let me know your initial instinct.
Play this up.
Thanks, Cheslat. I'm glad you're enjoying them.
So I know on queen h6, the king has to run to g5. I don't know if that's necessarily the first move, but it looks promising as something to calculate further. other question is if I... Well, the thing is mate in 1 is threatened, so I don't have time to play rook h4 first. Because the other question is, do you do something with interference on the mate? With, like, rook e4 first. But that seems super pointless. Yeah. I mean, okay, so first move, queen h6.
Yeah, exactly right. So let me now have you calculate that one.
Okay. So queen h6, king h6, rook h5. What's really easy to calculate, if the king goes back to g7, you have rook h7 mate. So the critical line is then queen h6, king h6, rook h4, king g5. King g5. And again, like mate in 1 is threatened, so we need a check. So if bishop c1 is, because that's a check, the only move the king has is king takes h4. And then if rook f4, rook f4, king g5, now you have these discovered checks. So do you just play like, is rook e5? No, rook e5 isn't mate. You have to move the rook. And you get the position back in my head.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, let me just make sure everyone's on the same page. We're calculating queen h6, king takes, rook h4 check, king g5, bishop c1 check, king takes h4. So far all of black's moves are totally forced. Rook f4
then,
check, king g5.
King g5. And then if you move the rook back, like let's say f2 or f3, does he have any squares? Yeah, he can go back to h6. Or he can go back to h4. If he goes to h6, I have rook h3 check, and now he doesn't have king g5, so it's king g7 and rook h7 mate. So if rook f3, king h4, if rook h3, that is also mate? Yes. Okay. That's one.
Okay, great. You made one small mistake there. I just want you to find it after rook f3 check in your line towards the end. You said the black king can go where exactly?
I said h4 and h6.
Mm-hmm. But I want you to double check those. Because one of those is just not legal.
Oh yeah, no, okay, the bishop's covering h6.
Okay, very good, very good. But yeah, you found the mate, very nice. No, really well done. So queen h6 is the start. And okay, to find this move, this is more of like a candidate move kind of thing, just seeing like very tempting queen check. You lure the king out. I'm sure, yeah, your pattern recognition is kind of lighting up whenever you see like knight on f6 and rook on h-file. Very typical mate. So once you see that the king has to come out for a walk, this is usually the moment where things should feel hopefully very, very promising. Okay, now you found bishop c1. That was great. Rook g4 is another check, but after king h6, white doesn't really have anything except just to repeat the position. So bishop c1, king takes h4, rook f4 check, only move king to g5. And there's actually a couple ways to mate here, but you just have to find one and make sure it's working. Rook f3 was your choice, and yeah, absolutely convincing. Other mates include, I like this one, rook e4. Only move is king f5, and then white has g4.
Oh, G4. I did say
Very
rook
pretty.
E4, king F5, and I felt it was a little loose, but G4 is nice.
Yeah, yeah. No, I think your solution is absolutely fine. And then there was also rook G4. I think Mitch pointed this one out. King F5 and rook G5. Another very nice
Oh, that's nice.
way to coordinate. Okay, great job. And again, this is one of those positions where, like, I can imagine many players, they see queen h6, they see it's promising, but then they tell themselves that they just can't make it work. But I'm telling you guys, you can make it work. You just got to push yourself, recalculate the line, and just try to keep the visualization steady. And then all you have to do is find some checks from there. So if you can see the position, you can see the checks, and you can find the mate. All right, let's...
Key to visualization is subscribing to ChessDojo with Twitch Prime. So, you know, if you have one of those, it's totally free. Go click that purple button. Give Kostya some money.
Thanks, man. Yeah, guys, boost your calculation by boosting the dojo. All right, let's go to our next one here. Valid fin, of course. All right, this is white to play once again.
Okay, white is down pawn. The white squares are kind of a thing.
All right, so now it's white's job to find the most kind of forcing line here and
Bishop.
try to calculate it until the end.
Bishop's undefended. I mean, the move that's popping into my head is rook c6, but I really haven't calculated many variations yet at all.
Okay, good. Rook c6 is a good instinct. That's the move. Now I want you to work it out till the end.
So rook c6, bishop c6, queen c4, king b7, knight d4, queen d7 doesn't work. It looks... So was that 2 pieces for a rook? Should keep track of material better. Down an exchange, and then it looks like you win the bishop back. So I think that line is 2 pieces for a rook.
Okay, let's check that one. So we said rook c6.
Rook c6, bishop c6, queen c4, king b7, knight d4. Oh, but that hangs, sorry.
That's fine, that's fine.
Because it's the other way around. Something with this knight, though. Because... Because with the king on b7... There's like some geometry with the king and the queen. I just don't see how it fits into the line yet. Okay, so rook c6, bishop c6, queen c4, king b7. Yeah, here I need to find a move. Bishop f1, threatening mate in 1 on queen a6. So queen a8. take over. There. Queen A8. What about now? I mean, if you play knight d4, threatening the bishop just moves. Like, let it go anywhere. And then if you play knight b5... Okay, but what if the bishop goes to d7? Bishop d7. Because now c7 feels weak. So I want my knight. My knight can't get to d5 quick. And my knight can't get to e6 with the bishop on. Oh wait, the knight can technically go to e6, because if bishop takes, queen takes, but I feel like I'm kind of running out of steam. Okay, I want to calculate that line again, though. Rook c6, bishop c6, queen c4, king b7. Bishop f1, queen a8. Knight d4, bishop d7. Oh, wait, what if instead of knight d4... No. Wait, okay. Knight d4, bishop d7, and now the diagonal to the king is open, but the knight's in the way of queen e4. So if knight e6, threatening queen c7, bishop takes, queen e4 check. And if the king moves to king a7, pick up the bishop. Now I want the bishop back on g2 though.
Yeah, so it's kind of feeling a little like a little shaky, right? It's like,
yeah.
So this is a really instructive moment, because of course we never know if we're on the right track or not during the game. But when the calculation starts feeling fuzzy and you're like, wait, I missed something, wait, there's other options, yeah, it's a good sign to like kind of take a step back and really retrace your steps. So let's go to that position after queen c4.
Okay.
And king goes to b7.
Mm-hmm.
So bishop f1 here, definitely worth considering, but what is the threat exactly with bishop f1?
Oh, it's no threat. Oh my god. Okay.
Yeah, see, which I know you're totally capable of seeing that, like, okay, queen a6 is not mate, but it's an example of how we kind of like, you know, you make one miscalculation and then everything else from there totally like irrelevant, right?
Yeah.
So it shows the importance of being super precise. Okay, instead of bishop f1, what's the most forcing move in that position?
There. Like, I mean, there's like a lot of like weird checks, like queen c6.
Yeah.
But that's... Oh my god, wait, hold up. Queen c6, king c6. And then, so if you move the knight, you have discovered check.
Mm-hmm.
So you want to probably go knight e5 to prevent king d7. So knight e5, king c5. Knight e5, king c5. Now I gotta find the mate there.
Mm-hmm.
And then if knight d3, it feels like it's getting away again because they have king d4.
That's okay. Keep going. Keep going.
King d4. Okay. Now its only escape squares are. So if I had 2 moves in a row, I would play king d2 c3. So the question is, if after king d2, can they do anything to stop c3? I'm recalculating from the beginning to make sure I have all the pieces in the right place. Did I take queen, sack the queen, king takes, knight d4, king c5, knight e5. It is knight e5. Where did I say the king went? King has to go to b4. What was I thinking before? King b4.
Wait, let's check that again just one more time.
Same rook c6, bishop c6, queen c4, king b7, queen c6, king c6, knight e5, king c5, knight d3, king d4, king d2. And yeah, I think c3 is not stoppable. So yeah.
Feels good?
Yeah.
Very nice, very nice. Yeah, okay, very tough problem. And of course, not easy to find queen c6. Because just intuitively, it's just easy to miss this move, or just kind of completely, it just doesn't exist, right? It just,
you're
just
like there aren't enough pieces left, kind of thing.
So I mean that of course I think is totally natural, but okay, hopefully problems like this, open people up to considering these moves. And all I said was just look at the most forcing move in the position, which is a trigger that you can just do for yourself, like during the game, and you'll learn to do it when you're calculating, just kind of like really, I call it just like brute forcing it, where you're just looking at the most direct move. So yeah, great job just calculating it out until the end. And people saw you had to like redo it a couple times, but that's totally fine. I'm often doing that if it's a complicated calculation. Better to kind of like measure twice, cut once type of thing. So then knight d3, king d4, and yeah, this is a moment 100% where people feel like, oh yeah, king's on the dark squares, there's no mate. And it's kind of a delicate line, because sometimes when you are chasing the king, if you're like calculating a king hunt, if you notice the king is getting away and has like multiple escape squares, then it does make sense to actually go back and look for something clear, because you don't just want to just calculate endlessly. Is that it's kind of not so efficient. At the same time, just because the calculation starts to get a little fuzzy, it doesn't mean it's over and you have to stop and go back. If it's a little fuzzy, chances are you can still work out the position and still keep going. You can kind of like push yourself a little bit more each time, almost like stretching. It's just like first time you get a little bit, next time you get a little bit deeper, and so on. Of course, finding this move, king d2, I mean, it's, of course, it's a puzzle, it's here, but hopefully you have the confidence to do it here. You'll get the confidence to do it in your games as well. And absolutely beautiful final position. I believe this actually comes from a real game. Like Kasparian is a very well-known study composer, but I think this was an actual game that he played. But absolutely beautiful
I like
combination.
to think he composed this as a study, but then put someone's name in as black because he just didn't like the person.
You know, like they used to do that. There are some games of the old masters like Anderson and Max Lange that it's like Lange versus NN or like Anderson versus NN. It's like this brilliant, and then apparently like they just composed it and they just released it as a game. So yeah, they used to do that. But
Or NN.
but yeah, of course here it's all about the king being trapped. White's king takes away the final squares, and black has no defense to c3 pre-move. Checkmate. All right, very nice. Let's do just one more. And yeah, let me put it on the board. Yes, if he enter. Valid PGN, you're killing me. Okay, this is white to play. And yeah, let's just think about it.
Okay, white to play.
Yeah, no resigning allowed, not yet.
So what I'm noticing is that queen c3, rook f3, queen f3, ef, the bishop's trapped. And then if b5, it just queens. Well, it's not trapped. It can take on, you have to like calculate taking on f2 and taking on d4, etc. But I'm calculating now queen c3. So queen c3, rook takes, b5, bishop f2, b6, bishop d4, b7, bishop a7. So it can cover the queening square. I still win that though? Move. Take that pawn. I mean, now I'm kind of evaluating more than calculating though, so I guess I should try to find a better line than that.
No, I want you to try to calculate that line to completion.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So, bishop a7. Pawn there. So my f pawn's gone, my d pawn's gone. He has connected e and f pawns. What is the most forcing move? Queening and giving it up. Take there. It's stalemate. I want to double check, but I'm pretty sure it's stalemate if I queen and he takes. Queen c3, rook, takes, b5, king, or bishop takes f2, push, takes d4, b7, bishop a7, queen there. Yeah, that's stalemate. So I have stalemate.
Mm-hmm.
I guess the question is then, do I want more than stalemate? If I were to just like blockade the pawn, queen c2, rook takes f2, I still can never take that c pawn, but I can push. No, but then the queen, I lose the queen. But let's calculate that out. Queen c2, rook f2, b5, rook takes c2, b6, rook b2, b7, rook takes. It's not stalemate. Wait, is that also? No, I mean I think black. I mean, there's no point in figuring out if he's winning or stalemate because it's stalemate in the other line. Okay, what if I sack? The other thing I looked at initially was sacking the queen for the rook and then taking the bishop, but I think the c pawn moves too quickly. But you can look. Takes, c2. b5, c1 equal queen, b6. That can't be any better. Is there a win here for white?
No, not necessarily. No, you found the stalemate. That's good.
Okay.
Yeah, nice job. I mean, of course, in the game, you never know. The only reasonable... So, actually, yeah, you made kind of a small mistake. So, on queen c2, black actually has something a lot simpler than rook takes f2, if you want to quickly try to spot that.
Rook f3 check, king g2. Oh, and then, okay, then you take on f2.
Then just taking, yeah, just a little bit more forcing, and white's king is too far. So the only move white could try is queen c1. And it's not so obvious to see that this isn't great, because you do have like a passed b pawn. Without the pawn, it'd be very difficult, just even some position like this, like queen is just so passive. But yeah, this one ultimately doesn't work for white. I'll just show folks why. So let's say check, take this one with check.
Yeah.
And let's say pushing c2, and yeah, basically
and rook e2 is coming.
Right, you have rook e2 and e3, and bishop can stop the pawn with bishop g3. Basically, queen is kind of dominated, and yeah, it's not really gonna work for white. So yeah, best white can do is a draw. Now you figured out the line, but it would be very easy to simply stop your calculation
at bishop a7.
At this point, yeah, bishop a7, or even like bishop e5, like cutting the king. Actually, when I was solving this one just earlier, I was like, at first I thought, wait, bishop e5, oh, king can't move. Like, oh, it's lost, right? Because I had the same idea, like, oh, maybe bishop gets stuck and we like move the king in. But then I realized, like, bishop e5, we don't even get the king in. And then, okay, it kind of clicks, like, oh, king can't move, right? So the stalemate themes come into play, but these are very easy to forget about, especially in your kind of long distance calculation. I don't think when I showed you this position here, your first thought was like, oh, there's some stalemate here. You know?
No, I was unsure of who was better for the first time in the puzzle.
That's good. That's good.
I'll say that.
Yeah, black is simply very, very active. But yeah, very easy to forget about the stalemate at the end, but always important to, well, you see enough examples like this, you learn to kind of keep it in the back of your mind. But yeah, they do come up. Okay, man, very nice job.
Yeah.
I'm
Take your
impressed. I honestly thought you might have struggled a little bit more than you did, and I would have to push you, but you did great.
No, it's okay. I'm close to 100K again, so we can just do version 2 of this next time with, just keep pushing it.
That sounds great.
Cool.
I would love to do that. So yeah, if you do an hour of this kind of calculation a day, just like really trying to push yourself, we only did like what 5-6 problems. That's all you need. 5-6 tough problems. You spend an hour on them. You get them right, you don't get them right. I think you benefit from that. So that's for you and everyone watching in chat. How to find problems like this? Actually, good question. I mean, you can. There are lots of like online sites with problems. Personally, I really like these Russian books, the manual of chess combinations. They have some great combinations in here. Like kind of funny cartoons because they're made for Russian juniors that are like way stronger than you would expect.
Russian juniors are 7 years old and 2,700.
Yeah, they're just born, 1800 level. And
There's this Daniel Naroditsky had this great story about. So his parents are from Russia, and he's a young kid and he's already a prodigy. He's like 1800 or something now, and family, or maybe he's 2000. I don't know. Family friend comes over who's born in Russia, and the parents are like, "Oh, play Daniel, play Daniel, play Daniel." And the guy's like, "Oh no, I don't really play. I don't want to." And Daniel, he's a kid. He wants to show off. He's like, "Yeah, let's go." He's like, "Okay, I don't really play." And Daniel's like, "I almost lost." Because in the U.S., he was like, in the U.S., if you say you know how to play chess, it's because you know how the pieces move. In Russia, you say, "I don't know how to play chess because I'm only 1,600."
Yeah, that's very accurate.
I enjoyed that story.
Yeah, so be careful, guys. Don't get hustled by someone who doesn't know how to play. All right, Matt. Well, we're gonna end it there. If you missed part of the lesson, it will be up on YouTube in the future. But that's gonna end it for the stream. I've got an early night tonight, and thanks everyone for tuning in. We'll have more streams tomorrow. Jesse is now back in action, so he'll be streaming more these days as well. And the dojo continues. So, all right, everyone, have a good one. Catch you guys next time.